The power of non-material waves as a principle of being. So here you have it in a nutshell. The world view of the quantum physics in its whole unexpected, breathtaking, and exciting beauty. The philosophers use a lot of fancy words to express their thoughts. They do so because these words, usually derived from some concepts invented by the ancient Greeks, are short and to the point. Ontology is such a word. It denotes the branch of the philosophy that deals, as a science of being, with the nature of being. Ontos in the Greek means being or real. Epistemology is another such term. It denotes the part of the philosophy that deal with the nature of knowledge. Theology deals with the nature of the divine. All these words contain the Greek word logos. When you try to translate this word, you will find that it has had a whole spectrum of meaning throughout its history, including such terms as speech, word, story, meaning, thought, reason, and even worldview. And even world law, to mention just a few. It is an incredibly rich word, and it is also the root of logic, or the science of thinking correctly. What I have described in the last few paragraphs is the ontology of the quantum theory. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. Yes. In the beginning was Word, and the Word was with God. And Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is how the Bible begins its account of the creation of the world. In the original Greek text of the Bible, the term logos is used as a principle of creation, which is translated as a word in an English version. This is precisely the ontology of the quantum theory. In the beginning, that is, before it is a visible thing, everything is a logical state in the realm of potentiality, logos. From your school days, you may have some memory of the structure of the atoms, which is as follows. All atoms consist of a nucleus surrounded by electrons. The nucleus contains practically all of the mass of the atom, more than 99.9%, and all of its positive electric charge. The space surrounding the nucleus is taken up by the electron of the atoms, which carries all its negative charges. You may also remember that your science teacher talked to you about electrons as elementary particles. When someone speaks of the particles, instantly the inner image of the tiny ball pops up in your mind, like of a little round bullets or pool balls. Indeed, not too long ago, science textbook presented a picture of atom in which the electrons are seen as tiny dots running around the nucleus in the circles. Well, you can forget about such pictures because they are completely misleading and wrong. Schrödinger's wave mechanics is currently the only theory that quantum chemists can use to calculate the properties of molecules from the principles, that is, from the property of their atoms. It was named after the Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger, who developed this version of the quantum theory in the 1920s. In this theory, the electron in the atom and molecules and permanent material particles that zip around the nuclei like planets around the sun, they exist in the wave-like states in which they are standing waves, wave functions, numerical patterns, or mathematical forms. If this seems amazing, it is even more amazing that a wave into which the electron in an atom evolves are empty. By that I mean that they don't carry any mass or energy, but just information on the numerical relations. In these wave states, the electrons are no longer material particles but patterns of numbers. Yet the power of these waves is absolute because the visible order of our world is determined by the way in which they interact or they interfere with one another. The interference of the wave function of the atoms, for example, determines what kind of the molecules they can form. The interference of the wave function of the molecules determines the force that exists between them. Yes, in the cell of your body, these forces keep you alive. The shocking truth is that at the root of the matter, at the level of atoms and molecules, the notion of the matter is lost in the realm of non-material forms, and actuality turns into the potentiality. Hans-Peter Dürr proposed, reality reveals itself primarily as a nothing but potentiality. Schrödinger's mechanism is a basis of the powerful computational techniques that are used by the quantum chemists to calculate the property of the molecules. These techniques are so precise that some of the early calculation of molecular structures, which were performed in my research group a few decades ago, led us numerous discovery of errors in published experimental work. In the case of proteins, the molecules that are the basis of the chemistry of life, we were able to calculate important trends of their structures more than a decade before these were found in experimental studies. Consider what a scandal that was. Science is about performing experiments and accepts nothing but experimental data as a basis of knowledge. And then, all of a sudden, some computational procedure which works on the assumption that the electron in atom are waves wants to tell us that experimental data can be misleading. It was a disturbing development and a shock to many. As one of the researchers whose work was collected put it to me, you should never have been allowed to perform such ridiculous calculations.